All right. Welcome back, friends. We're so glad you could make it today and thrilled to introduce you all to Famous Blast Words hosted by Pyrotecnico. My name is Jeff Abraham, and I'm the brand manager, and I'll also be moonlighting as host for Famous Blast Words. Just a little background about the show. Famous Blast Words is a bi-weekly live web show that will explore all things live entertainment related. The idea is we thrive to constantly innovate and hope to push the industry forward through both thought leadership and interaction with you, our audience. As always, please send your questions in through the comment section below, and we'll answer as many as possible. Please keep in mind there is about a 30-second to minute delay, so we will get to as many questions as possible, but keep that in mind while asking your questions. So for a bit of background, throughout the series, we will explore three major areas of focus. Those are entertainment, technology, and innovation. Today's episode will touch all three. The show today will be broken into four segments. First, we'll review some of the live entertainment industry's recent legislative initiative. Next, we'll look at some industry technology and have a fascinating conversation with Alberto Navarro, president and art director of Infinity Vision's design software. After that, Paul will be leading a brief seminar on how COVID-19 has impacted the live entertainment industry from a safety perspective. And finally, we'll conclude by premiering our newest creative ad and campaign rollout. So without any further delay, let's jump right into our first segment with our own very special guest, Stephen Vitale, President and CEO of Pyrotecnico. Welcome, Stephen, and thank you so much for being here again with us today.
Thanks, Jeff. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Great. So before Stephen, we jump into the live entertainment and production industries at large, would you mind giving us just a bit of a brief recap of the APA roundtable we held a few weeks ago, and any updates on where things stand specifically with July 4th fireworks shows this year?
Sure. The American Pyrotechnic Association, the APA, is the leading trade organization that represents roughly 240 small family-run businesses in the fireworks industry. If you would look at the fireworks industry as a whole, about 75% of it is represented by large consumer brand firework companies. And then our segment of the business is the professional firework display companies, which we estimate there are approximately 150 small multi-generational family businesses in the United States.
And so let's take a step back now and just look at a separate initiative, but that's the live entertainment industry as a whole. Could you give us, just our viewers, I would say, more of an insight into some of the unique nature of our industry and why the live entertainment production industry is working with the federal government on a specific targeted relief plan?
Sure, and I'll back up and talk specifically what the APA is doing, and then the broader live entertainment industry, which fireworks and pyrotechnics are a part of. The widespread cancellation of fireworks displays across the country, especially on the 4th of July, really threatens the existence of the small family businesses who are in the fireworks display industry. I mean, we're a 5th generation company. A lot of our friends and allies in the industry are 3rd, 4th, 5th generation companies as well. And, the pandemic couldn't have happened at a worse time for us. Companies' annual revenues in and around the 4th of July are anywhere from 50 to 80% of their total. And, we're seeing widespread cancellations, and it is really, it's crippled the industry. People are seeing anywhere from 70 to 90% cancellation rates in their territories, no matter, just depending on where they were. And the APA is engaged in a campaign to help the fireworks industry get to next season. I mean, we don't get a reboot. We have a very small window of opportunity to make our year in and around the 4th of July. And, this year for most companies, that won't be happening. So we believe that we need legislative support and assistance really to preserve and protect the industry. So I hope I answered your question. your first
No,
question.
absolutely. You did. And I really appreciate that. Would you now mind kind of jumping into more of the live entertainment production industry side of it?
Absolutely. Michael Strickland of Bandit Lights is really has been the catalyst in an outreach program for the greater live entertainment production industry, which is estimated to be a $38 billion a year industry versus, the fireworks industry being $1 billion industry. The one thing that is very unique to most other industries is that 100% of our business revolves around public gatherings. And until there is a palette and a desire to have events greater than 10,000 people, 10,000 people, many of the companies within that industry have revenues of zero. And, the work that we, and so it's a double-edged sword for us. I mean, about half of our business is in traditional fireworks displays, half of our business is in special effects that serves the live entertainment industry. So we don't see a lot of that business coming back realistically until 2021. So there's been a really great grassroots effort to help support that industry as well, and the folks who serve the industry most importantly. There's a lot of people in that industry that are out of jobs, and until we get back on our feet, there's not going to be any work for them. And unfortunately, I think what could be problematic is we may lose a whole group of really wonderful, well-trained employees in that market segment.
To that point, Stephen, is there anything our viewers can do to help the cause?
Absolutely. If you are in this industry, you could reach out to one of us. We have a template and a letter that you could send out to your local congressman as well as your 2 state senators. And your voice is critically important. They need to hear from us. They need to hear from the fireworks industry. They need to hear from the live entertainment industry, because if there is no effort, we will get forgotten. That is for sure. So anything you can do to pick up the phone, call your local congressman, or as well as the 2 senators who serve your state. I mean, that is incredibly helpful for everyone. And they serve us, and at the end of the day, the more outreach we do, the more attention that our industry will get, and the more support that we'll get.
Perfect. No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Stephen, for that insight. That's.
I would just add one thing too. It's like back to touring and live entertainment spaces. With as far as the one thing that could be a sad result of this is that not only will folks look elsewhere for work and so forth, but there's a contingent of production managers, tour managers, people in that world who've been in the industry for so long, and with COVID being a high risk to a certain age bracket, they might have to end their touring career as a result of it, and that's unfortunate.
In the entire live entertainment industry, and I'll stop here, it's said that there are 10 million people who work within that industry, and that's I'll throw it out there. We put smiles on people's faces. We entertain people, and that's critically important to the culture of America.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Thank
Alberto, thank you for joining us, and look forward to the rest of the program.
Perfect. Paul, are there any questions we could field now? It seems like a good time. We could, if anything interesting has come up from the audience. Oh, you're on mute, Paul.
Paul, you're muted.
It happens. Don't worry. It's not the first one people ask.
No questions as of now. There's just a comment that's agreeing with Stephen's exact point that the pandemic is going to make us lose a lot of technicians, and we'll have to do a big recruitment process and retraining process afterwards. As of now, no other questions have come in.
All right. I'll stick around for questions at the end if there are any, but again, thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right, next I'm going to hand over the mic to Rocco for an intriguing Q&A with our guest Alberto. Again, Alberto, thank you for being here with us today. And now, Rocco, I'll let you take it away from here.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Alberto, pleasure. Always a pleasure seeing you and talking with you. And thanks for joining us here today. I think that, in the spirit of July 4th coming up and, fireworks displays happening, a great opportunity to talk about your history and career in the fireworks industry, but also talk about your product show director, which we use at Pyrotecnico and thousands of people else in the world use to design their shows. I guess my first question would be, we are all in such a unique industry, the fireworks business. I always want to ask people, what's your story? Like, how did you get into this business? So please tell us, how did you get into the fire? What's your fireworks story?
Thank you for inviting me first, and it's great what you are doing to keeping us together during these times with these programs that you are broadcasting is great and very interesting. So I started doing fireworks in the south of France in 1982. At the time I studied law, but then I decided I wanted to be a painter. And I was a painter during this time. So I met a group of artist pyrotechnicians. There was a amateur group called FMR that after became Group F. And there was people from a variety of professions, musicians, teachers, doctors, musicians. And that's how I started in France, doing a lot of live shows, street shows, theater, scenic shows on castles and churches and buildings. And then I moved to Spain. I was at the time living in south of France. I moved to Spain, back to Spain because I'm from Spain, and I started the group there in Spain, and move on from there to do Expo 92 in Seville and the Olympics too. We did a laser show, laser shows, polychromatic laser shows. So that's the beginning.
That's amazing. It's as one thing I've been in the business, well, essentially my whole life, but really in it the last 20 years. And the one thing about the fireworks industry is there's so many different cultures within it, of how Europeans look at it, how the Japanese style on it, and that's one of the most fascinating things. So how did that morph into a software essentially? Because that's how did that transition place? Was it a void in the market that you saw, or what drove you to that?
Well, my approach from fireworks is because I'm a painter basically. So that was like painting in the sky. I was always very interested in sky art and landscape performances. Painting is a very solitary work, and you have to wait to do exhibitions. That's not much fun, and I like it the component of that, what we give to the people, the thrill. The people when it's watching a fireworks show, they forget about everything. That's why it's very important to continue doing this, and it should be, especially now during COVID, to make any way to make fireworks shows, because it's very important for the soul of the people to have this kind of sky art experience, and they are transposed. They don't think on their problems or anything during the moments of a fireworks show. It's a great emotional and visual experience. So I was attracted by that, and as a painter that captivated me. So my interest on simulation started there in the 1980s with Commodore Amiga, and I was very interested on computers when they started showing up, because as a painter I want to see what I'm painting, and every stroke is building up a composition. So at the time there was no tools. I did storyboards for every show I did or participated. So and then later on so I started working with on the digital aspect of the fireworks when I came in 1989 to Toronto, because I was going to participate in 1990 in the Benson and Hedges competition in Toronto and Vancouver.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Back then, that was before Benson and Hedges. Was that before it went to La Ronde?
No, that was after La Ronde. That was the Frankfurtado, Toronto and Vancouver Benson and Hedges.
Got it.
Yeah, so I met with the people of David Bickford that they were coming to the US to introduce Davy Fire, the igniters. So they were very interested, obviously, in digital firing because it's consumed a lot. And so he told me that there is a guy in California that is doing a digital firing system, and his name is Ken Nixon. Yep. So I said, okay, I have to find this guy. And I went there to Pebble Beach. He was not there. He was working on some show, 4th of July. I met with his mom and I said, you have to come back. So I came back, and then that's how I started with digital and see the first software, Dan Hyman.
Did we lose?
Alberto, are you still there? We might have lost Alberto.
Software Superscript.
Oh, so, okay, perfect.
Yeah. So we went to, then we decided, I said, I'm going to do these two competitions with Antonio Caballar, and he said, that's great, so let's do it. And then we did Toronto and Vancouver. We won gold Jupiters in both. Toronto, we fire manually, and Vancouver, we fire with the phase 2 system. So before the field controller FC3, and we won 2. It was much better, so perfectly synchronized. And then we move on to do Expo 92 in Seville, 6 months of large multimedia show. So it's still with Superscript. So
very cool. Hey there. Does any of that old equipment still exist? Do you know of?
Oh yeah, some people have a museum of firing systems.
Fireworks museum. They need to be in fireworks museums, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So, am I right in saying that around the mid 90s, is that when the uptick, when everything went digital essentially, and turned into where the competitions got more complex, where the shows got more complex? And that's a direct result of software that you produced and the technology behind it.
Yeah, the first thing with the digital, my first experience with the digital firing, the system was fantastic. You can do anything, still you can, and you see what has been done in the past 25 years with Pyro Digital and the best largest shows ever. But there was something missing. There was the scripting part. It was very slow as MS-DOS, because that was the computer technology at the time and software technology, and also the products, because there was, when I was in Spain at that time, when I went to do Expo 92, I hired Vicente Caballero to do it because I was the pyrotechnics director, and they had Roman candles and shells. I said, no, you have to do one shots with the igniter, one each shot, because this is different thing. So, and that started doing these one shots, and that David Pyre helped me a lot with that project, and the chemistry, and also 16 different colors. So all the full spectrum. Yeah. Because the theme, I was doing the theme of the rainbow, and And then when I moved I moved to the US. In Bellevue is the nest of hardware, of software, Microsoft. So my next door neighbor worked in Microsoft, and I said, I would like to develop some software because I need it. I need a better
Right.
tool to do the kind of shows that I was doing, multimedia and large events and a lot of shots, and then we're starting manufacturing one-shot products with Vicente Caballer and others here. So a better tool was necessary. In the beginning, I did it for me, and then Ken needed also a software, so we partnered to develop Show Director, and then we move on. And then when technology got better on computers and OpenGL and DirectX and the other development tools and faster computers, I started in 2001 doing the Visual Show Director, which I presented in Epcot in the International Symposium in Florida in 2001. That was the first public presentation. Yeah.
Wow.
So then I decided to share, and then it's not only me, actually. We don't do things alone. We are all teams of people.
Yeah.
I was very lucky to meet people, in the beginning, we were just transcripting Excel and downloading. Clayton Johnson helped me with that. And then Ed Bookwalter, Nino Ragosta from Naples, Gianluca Alberico, Ed Bookwalter, now Greg Hightower. So there is other people, Antonella, Riccio. So there is always other people. We were a team, and I was kind of the one pushing to experiment and do stuff. So a lot of development.
Well, very cool. I think, fast forwarding a little bit, we want you to, showcase some of the, some visuals from the hardware. And, when we were talking this week, one of the things that always, catches my eye and is that I know you're heavily involved with and have been heavily involved with, the iconic Space Needle show that happens in Seattle every New Year's Eve. And if you could take a couple of minutes and talk us through that, and if you have some visuals to show on that show and anything else of Show Director's capabilities, we'd love to see them.
Yeah. Well, the Space Needle show, I came to Seattle in 93, to live in 93. And when I flew to Seattle, arriving to Seattle, I saw the building. And I mean, obviously, I have to do something there. So I started working on it, and my wife Susan was lucky to meet in a meeting, Chamber of Commerce, with the marketing director of the Space Needle, Kim Kimi. She is the one that created the show, a visionary. And then say, well, my husband, Alberto Navarro, who's here, he didn't say was my husband, wants to do propose you to do a fireworks show for New Year's. Oh yes, well, come. It has been 25 years doing that show.
That's amazing.
So that was 1994 was the first show. And
wow.
And if you can look, I don't know if I can share something here, but just type on Google Space Needle fireworks images, and you are gonna see. I mean,
right.
Maybe I don't need to show you anything now. Just go see and see how much imagery that show has produced, which is the largest event in Seattle, even more audience than the Super Bowl. So,
wow.
So that's been a very long experience working with Pyrospectaculars, who has been producing that show from the beginning.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Jeff, how much time do we have?
We've got a few more minutes. Alberto, any other shows on your bucket list that you'd love to do? Any dream shows?
I mean, now I'm 63.
So plenty of time, you're saying. What's on the list? You want to know?
You know, my imagination has flight so far away that I don't think what I'm imagining can be realized now. I leave that for the guys following, you know.
Fair enough.
So it will be really hard to do. So that's why we get so much into the virtual world, you know, because that it gives us some creative satisfaction to work with the software. That's why show director is so powerful, and people think it's very complex. Well, because it does anything you can imagine, because that has been the development experience has been always, and with the guys like Nino and Gianluca and Greg Hightower, it's like, what can we do? I mean, and also listening to you guys and to the customer says, I would like to do this, can you do this? And we take note and we do it. So then the software becomes obviously complex, like any other software that wants to do as much. At the end, it's gonna be the same, no? So it's kind of an encyclopedia of features for pyrotechnicians. So.
Well, I want to thank you for
Yeah.
all you've done for the industry.
Yeah.
I've been a user of Show Director for 20 years now, and it is the software that we use to not only create shows for fireworks displays, but it's a big tool that we use for a lot of our live entertainment, concert and touring work. And it's been it's a platform that we use for a lot of different applications in our business. And I can say that just thanks for all you've done for the industry and creating something that so many of us have used. And it's a program that it's near and dear to me, and I tend to think I'm pretty quick on it and can work good, and it's very user friendly, and it's what we grew up on. So thanks for all you've done for us in the industry and what you created 20 some years ago, because it still has an impact today.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Alberto. Paul, are there any, or Brian, are any questions that we can field for either Rocco or Alberto?
Some of the questions we've actually answered as we went along. One question is, what's new and up and coming?
Well, we released this year 8.4, so it's every jump on a number means that there is a big changes. 8.3 has had 25 revisions. Now we are in 8.41. So we do very good tools for inventory control, custom reports, updating shows with new information from the inventory. We've been doing also the 3D glasses for presentation, stereoscopic fireworks with the 3D glasses and VSD player. And now we are going to release on this 8.4 version. This year will come a new tool that is gonna read your script and find the effects that best match your script, and add the visual effects. So it will be very easy to visualize things. So, I mean, that's a lot of the choice automatically for you, but also you can after modify the effects with effects generator and really fine tune to make what it really is. So that's what we are, and then we're working on something else for next year, which is secret.
Come on, there's some sauce.
Exactly.
It's something that everybody wants.
It'll be perfect timing.
Good. That's great to hear. Well, Alberto, thank you again just so much for being here with us today. This has been really informative. So thank you for taking the time and talking with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh yeah, it's very appreciative. It's like I could sit here and go all day and talk about. I love the history of this business and the different pockets of culture that are inside of it. And we could sit here and talk about Spanish fireworks probably for the next 2 hours, but we'll save that for another day. But yeah, well, thank you, and we appreciate you coming on, and wish you the best.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, next Paul is going to be presenting on this week's safety topic. So Paul, are you ready? You want to take it away?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. COVID-19. What has the impact been on our industry, the live event industry, not just fireworks, not just concerts, but as a whole? Mid-March, as everybody knows, everything came to a screeching halt. We were going to take a 2-week shutdown and regroup and move on from there. Well, that's turned into more or less an indefinite shutdown at this point in some respects. Stephen's mentioned a couple times earlier today that 2021 is a targeted date for things. That's a good long time away. Where we are as an industry, we've taken a look at how we can be innovative, take a look outside of our normal box that we work in, and see how we can present events safely, follow all the guidelines, and again, being safe is our number one concern. But how can we still make it enjoyable for people to still enjoy the oohs and ahs that we create? So some of the stuff that we've seen in the industry as a whole, fireworks end of it at least, we found that we've increased shell size, separating the audience a little farther away from what they normally would be. Because fireworks typically, you pack as many people in a field as you can, up close and personal to each other, and that has stopped with the social distancing that's out there. So what we're doing is we're putting larger shells in the air so people can see them from their own backyards and such as that. We've seen several shows that split up their show sites a little bit, and they'll do multiple smaller shows within the town itself, shooting all at the same time to give people the opportunity to see from their own backyards or from areas that they're not going to be close personal with other people. Give a better social distancing. One of the neat ideas that I've seen and we've had pretty good luck with is drive-ins. I think I see the return of drive-ins coming back in all kinds of ways. Drive-in shows such as a drive-in theater. You put a drive-in show on, it shoots from a distance. People are in a parking lot in their own cars, social distancing with their own family members in their cars, and they're able to view and still feel that same excitement at a show that you a little different than being out in the grass field that you're getting all the bugs and all crawling over you, but you're still able to sit there and enjoy it. So that's another way we've looked at doing things and have good successes with it. States are starting to open up a little bit more here and there. We're seeing some shows return. So it's not the same traditional shows that we're used to. There's still restrictions on size of gatherings, social distance requirements, and all that have to be followed. So we're see a small uptick in those types of shows. And as things progress, God willing, we'll be back to where we should be, and time will tell when that will be. I
just think just real quick, Paul, I think a key takeaway with all those things you've outlined is that, what to me, one of the, inspiring things you see out of this is that people are figuring out ways to be entertained. And, when Stephen says that the work that we do, and I look at the folks that are on the call right now, on Facebook, and I see some of our friends who do live entertainment in the UK. He's right when he says this is important work that we do, and people are finding ways to entertain people. So it stinks right now, but I have faith that humanity will prevail here, and there's going to be some smart people who figure this out, and there's a bunch of smart people right now who are finding ways to entertain people for the time being, because we will be needed at some point. We just don't know when. We will be needed though, and when we are needed, we must be prepared to rock. So
very true.
Great point.
Yeah, that's kind of like where the fireworks is, as display fireworks. Now, when we talk about traditional concerts and the events like that, we've always said that or not always, since this has happened, we said we're going to look at the sports teams to come back and see how that rolls, and then we'll know, the direction we're going to go in or be able to go in. Again, much of this was models and predictions and not real good science behind how to restart. This is new to us. 100 years ago there was one, but things have changed much. So we as the country, the world, don't have any real good data to go from. So things have started back up. NASCAR, some golfing. They've started up, but they've started up without audiences. So that large gathering, we're not going to really be able to get gathering the data from that. Michael Strickland from Bandit Lights has made some good comments lately, and one of his quotes, due to the tragic death of George Floyd, from May 25th until today, there's been a lot of large-scale gatherings. Social distancing was not taking place. There's a lot of things that happen. Tons and tons of people are getting together. That's a model that we can look at out of a tragedy. Some good information, some good data is going to come out of that. From that data, we'll be able to look at it. We not just Pyrotecnico, but we as an industry will be able to look at that and figure out which way that we're going to be able to go. Data could say two things. One, there's a lot of infections. We're going to overtax the medical community, and we'll have to stay down where we are. Or two, the data could come back and say, hey, okay, there's been some infections, but they're not really creating that much havoc on our medical community. And that's why we've all shut down, is because of the over surges that we're looking to keep our medical folks in check. If that happens and we don't see a huge spike, this is going to be some true data that we can make decisions with, not just models. So, out of a tragedy, some good information may come of it that could help the entire world to really get behind this and know which way to go from here. That's basically where we are. We'll know in a couple weeks. This is a week and a half or so of the protests that or the gatherings, we'll call them, that are going on. Then we'll see how they come out. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping we get some great news out of this, obviously for humanity and for our industry. I'll be here for some questions, comments as we go. Jeff, back to you.
Great, thanks. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Paul.
much. That was really helpful. And keep the questions coming, folks. If you have any, we'll get back to them at the end here. So for the last segment of today's show, we will be premiering a new creative ad campaign video. The idea, behind this video really is, given everything that's happened in the past several months, the message behind this campaign is find your reason to celebrate. We think it's something that hopefully everybody an idea everybody can get behind. So we will answer a few more questions after this video, but now just please sit back and enjoy this 1-minute video. Thank you. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that new video. That will be going out on all of our social media channels, so you can rewatch it and share it with anybody you'd like on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Paul, are there any more questions that we have time to answer today?
One question I do see here is, who else is missing the smell?
I saw that. That's so good. I was like, that's amazing.
That is so true with our industry.
Yeah,
That's
that is so good. That is so good.
I think
So
there's
true,
one more
too.
that popped in as well.
Go for it, Brian.
Yeah, so let's see, asking about the security in the magazines to house all the display shelves we normally use in a year. How do we go about doing that? Do we have enough security in magazines to house everything, being that the shows are less?
Good question.
Yeah.
That's one of the unique aspects of our industry. We're heavily regulated, and part of that is maintaining solid, accurate records of our inventory, as well as inspecting our magazines on an ongoing basis. So there's a huge expense associated with that. So we've kicked up our security as a result of that. Great question.
It was a great question. Are there any more, Brian?
Nope. I see some people liked our video. That's great. That's good news.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Alberto, thank you again. Stephen, thank you for being part of this. This is, really enjoyable, and we just appreciate everyone's time. Everyone else out there, please stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.